We'll call this meeting to order. City of Anamosa City Council agenda, regular session, Monday, June 28th, 2021, 6 p.m. Anamosa Library Learning Center, and also via Zoom. 1.0 roll call.
Clark,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Lockhart,
Here.
Zumba,
Here.
Stout,
Here.
Capron.
Note, all council members are present. 2.0 Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have individuals that are joining us virtually this evening. So Rebecca, could you please go through the instructions on how to present to council when requested?
Absolutely. If you are joining us on a computer, you can let me know that you would like to speak either by raising your hand when we get to the agenda item or by sending me a message in the chat. The way to raise your hand, if you don't already know, is on a desktop or a laptop, there should be a reactions button. You can click on that and that will give you a raise your hand option. On a mobile device, I think you have to you choose ... and that will give you that option. If anybody's joining us on phone, which I don't think they are, it's *9 to let me know you'd like to raise your hand. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Rebecca. 3.0 Approval of agenda.
So moved. Second.
A motion by Rich, second by Alan to approve the agenda submitted before us this evening. Any further council or any further discussion with council? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda as submitted signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimous. 4.0, motion to approve the minutes from the following meetings. 4.1, June 14th, 2021, regular city council meeting.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Alan. Is there any further discussion by council on the minutes before you? Hearing none, all those in favor on accepting the minutes as presented signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion to approve carries unanimous. 5.0 public hearings, none. 6.0 proclamations, none. 7.0 old business. 7.1 monthly CDBG downtown facade program update. Derek Lumsden, Jones County Economic Development.
Good evening. I heard at the last meeting you all were hoping for a monthly update. I was going to be giving you one, but I was coming in on the last meeting of the month, just so most of that month's work has been done already. So we started in May. I'll give you the 2-month one. Most of that was mobilization, getting supplies and equipment in here so they can begin doing some initial exploratory work on a couple of buildings where there were some questions that we weren't for sure what that would entail. And then the month of June has been, as you've seen if you've been downtown, most of the demolition stage. Now, obviously, that's both the most interesting, also to some degree the most depressing state, as we see things torn up and then boarded right back up. We do that mainly so, one, it keeps people out of those buildings, but two, to make sure that there's rain and stuff that's not getting inside there as well. So once the demolition's been done, what they've been doing now is they've removed the asbestos. They've been doing some tuck pointing work, as you've seen on a couple of the buildings. They've done all the measurements inside the buildings, taken out the windows, the new storefronts. All of those things have been measured and ordered. You can't accurately measure until everything's taken out, so you know exactly where things are going back in. So over the course of the next few weeks, those will probably stay boarded up to some degree. They'll be doing some light carpentry work, as you probably saw today, until those storefronts and those upper story windows come in. Then they'll be putting those in over the next few weeks as those come in. They'll be doing the roof work on Barner's property. They'll be continuing to do tuck pointing work on both Tucker's and Barner's Realty. They have the largest span of brickwork that need to be done. And then as some of those buildings start getting checked off through the month of July, then they'll start on some of the buildings that are occupied on the first floor, which are Vendor Village, Tucker's, and the Chamber Office, so the main ones they haven't touched in a lot of detail yet. So next month's information will probably be a lot more in depth of here's where we are, here's how much we got to do, and you'll start seeing some more positive changes rather than just the boarding up the building. August and September will be our heavy months of seeing the vast changes, making them look like the renderings and getting some of those buildings checked off. Almost every building had about 90 days worth of work, give or take, on it, and that is spread out over the course of the 6 months that Tricon's planning to be here. So some of it will overlap, some of it will happen nearer the end, some of it will happen earlier. But we are on schedule. We lost about a week in May because of rain, but we easily made that up over the course of the last couple of weeks with no rain. So we're still right on schedule, and they're still planning to be done first part of November. Are there any questions for me? Nope. They're doing, as you probably noticed right now, the old Knuckleheads building has a big canvas and stuff around it. They've roped out the sidewalk when they're working on it. We knew that beam was going to have to be replaced, so that's what they're doing now. We also knew it on the building between the old Reardon Photography and Hot Shots. So we knew those were beams that were going to have to be replaced, but other than that, there were no structural issues found or projected to be found.
So could you just please rebrief? I know you've gone through this before. If structural issues are identified, what is the process?
So what would happen is if the Tricon finds that they think there's a structural issue, they would contact the architect. The architect would come in and see if she believes that as well. If so, they bring in a structural engineer to determine if there is a structural problem and what would need to be done to remedy it. And then once they had that, they'd come up with a cost and a timeline, and we would take that to the owner to have that conversation to see if they'd want to pay for it, because it's 100% on them to pay for anything that was not in the original grant program.
And what has been determined to be done now without identifying structural issues, is that allowed to continue, or does that phase of the project or the building shut down?
It would depend on what it was. So it's hard to say.
Okay.
But it could shut it down, it could stall it, shift it back a couple of weeks and shift something else up. It just kind of depends on what the structural issue is and how long they think it might take to correct it.
Are the renderings public knowledge?
Yeah, you should have gotten them way back.
Well, I
when.
did, but I didn't know whether everybody else got them, so I didn't want to.
Do they were in the board packet? I assume so. I guess
Yeah.
I didn't.
They're awesome. It really looks
They're-
nice.
Yeah, and I
They're
know all
pretty
the
sure.
owners have them too, so they're able to showcase them to people.
Oh, great.
So, yeah.
Anything else for Derek? Well, thanks
Just
for-
a quick note from the Zoom, and Derek was loud enough to be heard over everybody else's microphones, but just a heads up that if somebody else pops up who is quieter, they may need to borrow a council microphone.
Sure. Thanks, Rebecca. Well, again, thanks for quarterbacking this to date, and look forward to visiting with you in a month again.
Yeah, be great. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, Derek. Thanks.
7.2, monthly engineering report from Snyder and Associates, Tim Wallace and Lindsay Beeman.
Are we down 2 mics? 'Cause we're down
Yeah.
one now.
Yeah, we're down. I had to send one off to get fixed. So.
All right, is that okay?
That's
Can you
great.
hear that, Rebecca?
Yep.
Perfect.
All right, so got a project status summary for the Old Dubuque Road Extension Roundabout project in your agenda. We also included a preliminary engineer's estimate of costs, as well as the preliminary plans that we submitted to the DOT to start the roundabout review process. We submitted that to them on the 17th. For the DOT, since they have funds involved and there's a roundabout involved, they always like to have a prelim set to work through some roundabout review process by a third-party consultant. So that was the reason for that. Next submittal will be in August. That'll be like our 90% design complete. Check plans is what we call them. Before that, we'd like to get a public information meeting put together. I guess question to you guys, who from the city would like to be involved with that? And are you guys okay with us kind of setting that up ourselves, or how do you want to go about doing that? Just to introduce the project to the public, kind of the main stakeholders. You know, maybe we might be getting some temp easements from some property owners in the area. Just kind of introducing the project to them.
Well, I would think you'd want to run it through the city administrator, and then we can decide from there who may want to be involved or how to involve the council.
So typically we, we'll bring a big map of the entire site. It'll be treated kind of like an open house, just for folks to come in and ask us questions if needed, or, make notes to them if they want. So yeah, I guess Beth, we can chat following the meeting and get something scheduled.
Do it like here or down at the Lawrence Center, one of the two probably.
More than likely, we'll probably have it.
Do it here. Okay.
Can I ask, have you done traffic studies? Like, how many cars do you expect to go through the roundabout every day compared with the cars that go at the four-way stop up here? Is it financially viable to do a roundabout given the traffic volume?
So we did a preliminary trip analysis for the Old Dubuque Road north-south portion of it. We found it to be about 2,500 cars a day was the ADT, the annual daily traffic. So single lane roundabout will be plenty sufficient for that. As far as is it viable? So roundabouts, they actually end up being cheaper for like maintenance, long-term cost maintenance. You don't have like the street you guys are probably thinking of stop signs, or like a stop sign versus roundabout, or stop lights or something. I guess stop light versus roundabout, they do end up being cheaper long-term just due to the less maintenance involved in the roundabouts. Roundabouts help. They're very nice for kind of random traffic. So you might have, high peaks in the morning or in the afternoons for rush hour, for commute traffic. It handles it very well because cars don't have to stop and they don't have to start stacking up behind that. Better for pedestrian safety because they only have to worry about one flow of traffic at a time. Stuff like that. I guess, does that kind of answer your question there?
Well, I was looking at it from financial viewpoint mostly.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, financially, roundabouts versus like a signal they're comparable. Like I mentioned earlier, is the maintenance ends up being more costly versus the signal in that regards.
The figure in this, that's the amount for the original before we scaled it back to phases. That was the total project, or is this just the phase one?
Which
I'm on project status summary from you.
You're talking about the 1.8. That was our updated cost. Was the 1.825.
The 8.1.
8.1
That
was
was
the-
everything originally before
Yep.
scaled back.
So the 8.1 is what we, when we initially sent in the STVG funding application to get the 1.326 from the state. That was the original amount. That was back when the project included all three phases.
Okay.
And since then it's scaled back. So we've actually been working with Mary Rump with ECOG to help revise that, the STIP.
So now we're at like the
The
1.825.
1.25. Yep. It's still got the 1.326 of the funding, so that didn't decrease at all. And we're actually working with the DOT. We got a meeting tomorrow to work on getting some additional funding for the closure as well. So we'll keep you updated on that one as well.
Does that have to be used all in the first phase, or to be divvied out over future projects?
I would have to check on that. I think since we have kind of the overall project in there, we can probably end up splitting it out. I guess is there a specific? You just wanted to see if
just curious. I'm
Okay.
not going any particular way with this. I'm just
Okay,
asking
sure.
the question, I guess.
Yep.
Is the single lane big enough for a semi?
Yes, yep. So we designed it, through our design process, we do some turning movements based on the semi trucks, and we use the WB67 as kind of the nerdy lingo for it, but it's the biggest truck, interstate truck. And we were able to design the roundabout to maneuver throughout that based on that WB67 design.
But it would easily allow semis
Yeah.
to go around there.
Yeah, so when I say it allows for semis, the trailer will still have to travel around the truck
Yeah.
apron.
Yeah.
Um,
But there's no curbing. It's just like an angled.
yeah, it's
edge.
just like a 4-inch slope curb, so it's not the big 6-inch standard.
Be like
that
what
we're-
you have down Mount Vernon. That's probably a bigger one, but that type of curbing or that type of edge.
Right, exactly. Yep. Is there any other questions for that? I do have a list of stuff, mainly in regards to some trail/sidewalk items in the status summary, just for city consideration. One of them is the trail connection on the south side of the project. There's two different options we can go about that. We can just tie in the 10-foot trail to the existing 4-inch sidewalk where it stops today. Or we can work on replacing the 4-foot sidewalk on both sides of the parking lot entrance, which is the way we're going to do it unless we hear otherwise from the city. Just allows for bikers, if they were to utilize Old Dubuque Road, for example, and they want to get on the trail, they want to access the trail system, they don't have to get on a short piece of 4-foot wide sidewalk. They can get right on the 10-foot trail and access via that way.
Can you repeat that? You said how you were planning at this point was going to be starting at the north side of the middle school and doing what?
So we'll replace the 4-foot wide sidewalk on both sides of that entrance. So it'll be a 10-foot ramp on the south side and 10-foot ramp on the north side. And then that 10-footer will just extend all the way to the roundabout.
Just on the north side of the middle school,
Right.
but not on the south side?
Well, we'd be replacing the 4-foot ramp on there as well. So then it has the 10-foot sections on both sides of that entrance.
The north
That
one
makes
only? Oh, okay, the north and the south, okay.
I think that's pretty much all. Landscaping. I know we didn't have that in our original agreement. Not saying we have to have a decision on it at this point, but just something to consider. Some cities like to put some landscaping in the center of it. So if that's something that you'd like us to do, let us know and we can definitely do that. Some cities have done it like a parks project. They do it themselves. They come up with the design themselves and construct it that way. Or we can add it to our design as well. So just something for the city to consider there. And I believe that is all I had for you. If there's any other questions?
Lindsay, you earlier on, you had brought the roundabout at one size, and then we got into that discussion about larger semis. So is this the larger roundabout?
Yes.
Okay. If we scaled back to the original size of the roundabout, how much would that decrease the cost on this?
Cost decrease probably wouldn't be too much because the width of the travel lane around the roundabout is going to stay the same. We're just shifting it in 10 feet, maybe 20 feet on each side. So you'd save a little bit of earthwork and a little bit of paving, but it probably won't be much.
I think long-term it makes more sense to go the larger. I mean, just because we've got stuff going on with the commercial park and hope that continues with deliveries. We've got the sale barn, we've got Boomerang. I think out that way, I think it makes sense just to allow us. You're never gonna, if it's close on money, I don't think you're gonna ever wish I would have made that smaller.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking if you go to the second roundabout in Mount Vernon, that is a smaller roundabout and you still have semis going through it. So I don't think the size of the roundabout is as effective because they're going up and over the middle of it anyway.
You're talking about the one right along 30 there in the middle of Right, Mount Vernon, right there.
West
by-
of that,
West of that one.
west of that one,
One heading towards Cedar
There's
by
Rapids.
Lynch,
two.
by Lynch Ford.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the ones in Marion are,
So the initial size, the smaller size in comparison to what you have in the design now. My understanding that was adequate to basically accept the larger length semi trailers that would be hauling any type of equipment. So I'm curious as to what was the reason to bump it.
Oh, that was feedback here for sure. I mean, it was about the truck size for the, what is it, the cattle.
Yeah, so there's
company. That was-
different,
That was 42.
different truck sizes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we asked to have the larger
Yeah, for
one.
53 foot, I believe was part of our conversation at that time, and it would accept it at the smaller scale. My understanding also is that if you go too wide on the roundabout, you decrease the public safety side because cars can now navigate it at a little bit higher.
Quieter channel, and that's exactly what they're doing. Probably they don't want to go decrease speeds in Mount
At
Vernon.
least, yeah, that's where
But they're gonna do it.
my concern is with the larger size, because a roundabout is, a lot of its intent is to slow the traffic without bringing it to a stop for public safety.
Yeah, and that was one of our design checks we do. It's called a fastest path analysis. So we determine, at what angle a car would enter to or utilize the roundabout at the max speed. So we do run that design check throughout the design process. I do want to point out for areas such as like the Mount Vernon Road, their turning movements might be more straight through. So they were able to get away with the smaller roundabout. But for areas such as the Old Dubuque Road roundabout, we were also working on allowing the right turn movements. The right turn one was the big driving factor for us in this. For future, the east-west roadway, mainly to the east to access the bridge, was the driving factor.
And
for
I
that.
get that. I don't see too many semis utilizing that because it's going to be residential. But I understand the turning portion of it.
But this connection going up to Commercial Park is gonna have semi.
Right, but it's going to be more straight,
yeah.
which therefore allows, they're going to pass over the middle of the roundabout anyway.
So I can be in agreement that, we don't want to go too small now and then sit there and go, wow, that was not a good move. But, if it'll accommodate everything that we think is going to pass through there, then why go larger and then have the flow of vehicle traffic maybe a little too quick?
I mean, honestly, with some, extent here, it's up to you really what you want to pass, because we don't want to come back later and the public saying, why didn't you allow this size of truck? And so that was the reason we went to that, is because of the conversations we had here, but we can certainly. go back
Yeah,
there.
so the intent with, designing the roundabout for the right turn trucks was, our assumption is maybe northbound traffic exits onto the West 130th and wants to get on Old Dubuque from there and make a right turn or a left turn or anywhere from there. That's what we designed to accommodate as well. Westbound, so the west part of the the roundabout, we did not design for the largest truck because we didn't think like that was necessary. We thought that was gonna be more of a residential area. So we went with a smaller vehicle, while still allowing for the north-south traffic and then the right turn, northbound right turn, and then westbound right turn to go north as well. So that was the basis for our design there.
So all directions except the west would allow the largest semi tractor trailer
Right.
rig to
Yep.
get through there. Okay.
Exactly.
I mean, if you have input on that, that's why we want to hear that, so. I know there was a lot of concern before that, that we
Yeah.
want to make sure that we got all the big trucks.
Well, and I was just asking because I know we'd asked for the larger roundabout, but that didn't necessarily mean that's the direction in the end,
Okay. No,
you know, just kind of get a differential. I mean, because we can always, for like to the east of 151, that area, we can always limit that to no semis within that residential area, which then cuts down on traffic coming across and semis coming over the bridge. They'll have to go up and turn and come back down Circle Drive. So, I mean, there's different ways we can manipulate that.
And is that all slated to be residential over there?
That's what it's planned for, I think, right now, intended anyway.
Yeah, let us know one way or another. I mean, so.
Okay.
You know, honestly, we were worried too about making sure, that's why we did a lot of the turning movements, but we didn't want to come back and have this conversation, because people typically get frustrated when they don't understand the trucks can use the middle. It looks like it's too small, or it's not working
Mhm.
right, and that's the conversation we wanted to avoid.
Well, and the thing that I don't want to do is do something now and then 15 or 10 years later, oh, we got to rip it out and do it different. Let's plan for it and do it right the first time.
Exactly.
Yeah, there is a size just right to get it right, too big, too small.
The smaller size will accommodate a semi with a 53-foot trailer.
I'd have to look at the trailer size for the different design vehicles. I got my nerdy lingo of the WD-67 versus the other trucks. So I don't have the exact trailer size, but I can definitely check that out and get back to
Could
you
you
guys.
and then somehow report maybe back to Beth, and she can convey that on.
I know that we had an iteration with the previous size before, and we talked about that.
And I guess also another question is, A, will it fit? But B, the other piece is it gonna fit like just a squeeze, or can it comfortably, get around it?
I think it's squeezy.
It's squeezy.
I mean, if you want to, the way I look at it, when he shows me the pictures of it, is like, okay, what if I don't drive that well with my angle?
That's, I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
That's the other problem if you get rookie semi drivers.
It's possible, but yeah, how well you aim your angle.
yeah, and keep in mind that our design software is on the fluffy side of things. So when we put it in there, it's accounted for a little bit of fluff. It's not, there is only one way to drive through the roundabout, because we understand that's not realistic at all. So just want to keep that in mind as well.
Any other questions for the Snyder team?
Are you going to talk about the other two city projects you're working on?
We sure can.
Like anything to share with us about either one of those?
Employee utilization basin, I think we're still working on the land acquisition.
We should be getting close to being done with that. I gave the thumbs up to this.
Sorry, Lindsay, I kind of lost you there. Could you speak closer to the
Hi.
microphone? Thank
On the flow equalization basin, we're looking for land acquisitions, and Beth's just weighing in on that. We good enough that we should go ahead and do soil borings? Do we have access? Okay, I'll talk to Nick about at least talking to them, getting it back on the schedule. Okay. And then the other project was the second phase of it's kind of a funny name now, so separated. The Second Street Lift Station project, when that went in, there was a second phase at that time, and that's going back to Alan Johnson's era, I believe. And it was put on a shelf. I don't even remember why. This time, honestly, it's been that long. And we brought it up, and I'm going to meet with Steve on Wednesday to walk through it, because I don't want to go forward with it until he looks at it and it's what he wants and what you want, since you guys have inherited it. We're going to go through it on Wednesday, and we'll see what comes of that. I haven't met with Steve yet, so I want him to know what's going on and if he wants to go ahead and bid it or not. The plans were completely finalized. It was just never put out in the streets.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Seven point three, discussion of possible action on city council meeting location and continuation of electronic meetings.
Before Beth talks, she may want to get her microphone back.
Thank you.
I'm just looking for input if you want to continue on with the meetings here, if you want to go back to city council chambers. Or if we're going to continue to Zoom or go back to just in person.
Well, my first thought is I'd like to see us maybe continue Zooming until the end of the year.
Okay.
Do another 6 months. And then readdress it at that point in time. My opinion, I like having the meetings down here because we can spread out, but I'm okay going back to the chambers too.
I like looking out the window.
Does our being here impact the library's ability to have this room used for other things?
That I don't know. Rebecca?
We don't typically plan programs for Monday evenings, partially because the library board sometimes will need to have special meetings, and they're easiest to get together on Monday nights. So we've just been, when we've needed to have done that, we've done that on the first Monday, or I've sort of held that open in my mind. So we don't have programs that really conflict. It's just occasional board meetings.
Okay, thank you.
I like them here. Like I said, windows are nice.
The upstairs of City Hall is very nice now too,
It is really nice.
which is a hint that maybe we should look at
an elevator.
downstairs.
Are they done with upstairs?
They are. They moved in Friday.
They move quickly.
Are there workers up there settled in?
So Rich has shown interest in continuing with the Zoom meetings through the end of the year. I'd like to break this down into really two motions. One, if we're going to continue the Zoom meetings, making a motion for a length of time. And then the location of the meeting, if we're going to remain here for a period of time or move to City Hall.
Well, if you
Or
want
I
to
guess
just
you
stay,
want to combine it both into one.
if you want to just stay how we've been doing it, you don't have to motion anything. We'll just continue on. I was just making sure nobody wanted to move back to City Hall or had any opinions about Zoom.
Well, I was just looking at, there was a sunset date for how long we would continue to meet here versus City Hall.
Well, I don't know that we need to put a date on it. We can just reassess it as we go, and then maybe in 3 months or 2 months or whatever, address it again if people feel like
Sure.
we need to.
I think it's fine. Doing both, continuing here. It's closer to home.
Well, and the public then can spread out here, a lot better than they can
Oh, sure.
up in City Hall right now.
Yep.
So,
So motion to continue the Zoom through the remainder of 2021
As well as meeting here.
as well. Is that your motion, Rich?
sure. Second.
Motion by Rich, second by John, to continue with Zoom at the city library location for city council meetings through the remainder of calendar year 2021. Any further council discussion regarding the motion? Any public discussion from those in chambers? Any public discussion from those virtually? All those in favor with the motion signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion to approve is unanimous. 8.0, new business. 8.1, appeal of vicious dog removal order, Alicia and Ryan Pearson.
Okay, I see that you raised your hand, so I'm gonna go ahead and give you the option to unmute.
Just give me a second, Rebecca. There's a statement that I prefer to read.
Okay.
Vicious dog declaration hearing procedure for City of Anamosa versus Ray Peterson. Mayor convenes the hearing. Pursuant to notice to the public under Chapter 21.4 of the Code of Iowa and request for Mr. Ryan Ray Pearson under Chapter 55 of our code, I hereby convene a hearing for the council to adjudicate whether the vicious dog notice sent by the police department to Ryan Ray Pearson on June 23rd, 2021 shall be upheld. The police department has declared that because of the dog Daisy in an unprovoked manner attacked and bit a pedestrian on the sidewalk, the dog must be removed from city limits within 7 days. Mr. Pearson appeals that decision. The council shall hear evidence first from Mr. Pearson concerning the basis for his appeal, and then from city officials and from the victim of the dog bite. The sole basis for the council's decision should be the evidence as it applies to the city code and not sentiment or some other basis. Either side may call witnesses and I will swear them in. Witnesses may be cross-examined by opposing party or by city council. Any party who wishes to introduce evidence in the form of documents or photographs may do so, provided I determine the evidence is reliable. Written statements of people who are not present to testify shall not be considered. At the conclusion of all evidence, either side may make a brief argument not to exceed 3 minutes. Rebecca, if Mr. Pearson and his party are present at this time, we would like to hear from them.
Okay, they should be good to go.
Pardon? I will swear each individual in, but I wish for them to state their name.
Hello, sorry, I'm not sure if this is my cue to chime in or not, or if you can hear me.
Yes,
We
we
can-
can hear you.
Hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can, sir.
Who are we speaking with?
My name is Alicia Pearson. I am also the owner of the dog in question. I apologize, but my husband is not able to attend with us, but I have been in contact with Officer, I apologize if I say her name incorrectly, Minahan, and, receive the information from her as well.
Okay.
And do feel comfortable wanting to discuss the situation at hand.
Alicia, before you proceed, I need to swear you in.
Yes, sir.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth?
Yes, sir.
Very, very well. Would you proceed?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank your council for allowing for us to come forth and speak about this, what is very much an unfortunate incident and very much caught our family off guard. I've thought a lot about and what I feel is accusations towards our beloved family dog, because that is in fact what she is. I'm not here to deny the need for ordinances in our city for many reasons, especially those to protect our citizens. But what I would like to address is the lack of procedures, discrepancies, and what I feel is at most only some circumstantial evidence brought forth against our dog. And that's what I feel was most important to bring forth and voice to you guys as council members. I imagine that several of you yourself have fur loved ones, and if you were in our situation, would want to do whatever it is that you can to have a voice for those who can't. So that is why I am here today. I've never have participated in anything like this, so this is very much new to me. So please bear with me and through my anxiety with this. Why I would, like I said, like to bring forth my reason for want for you guys as council's members to make some sort of reconsiderations or evaluations of your procedures and the City of Anamosa Police Department procedures when responding to events such as this. Before I go any further, does anybody want to say anything? Sorry, sometimes I feel like I talk too much.
I guess myself, as well as I would assume the council, would just like to hear the reasons for you, that you believe we should reconsider the judgment by the police department for their investigation and how it applies to our ordinance.
Okay, I will most certainly do my best to do that. Like I said, this is very much new to me. And I definitely never want to do this again. So some of the things that, I would like to mention that my direct connection with Officer Minahan, once again, despite the circumstance, I do want to note that I did find her to be very compassionate and empathetic and consoling with receiving this news. But with that being said, our time of notice from the date of when the supposed attack or bite or however you want to say it occurred to my husband first receiving notification of it was 10 days. That right there to me seems very questionable of practices within itself. According to Officer Minahan, she attempted to make contact by coming to our house the day of the incident, where she says she came to our door and knocked, and it was afternoon hours between 4 and 5. We have several people who live in our house, 4 of them which are adult, 2 of them are minor children. It is very seldom that somebody is not home. And yes, our dogs bark when somebody knocks and can be heard from any point within the home. So the fact that she says she was unable to make contact by coming to our door just doesn't seem possible, knowing how my family's functions and when they're within the residence and when they're not. She also states that she attempted to reach my husband by phone that she received through in-house records. Okay, I told her straight up, yeah, my husband doesn't check his voicemails and he sure doesn't answer numbers he doesn't know, let alone restricted. But there's not a law saying we have to answer our phones or check our voicemails. I question her as the person who is the sole name on the residence in question, why my contact information couldn't be retrieved and further attempts to make contact were done. She did not provide an answer. She did state that she, during the 10-day period from the initial incident to when she finally made contact on the 23rd of June, that she had days off, which we're entitled to do, but according to her claims, that she was unable to make any further attempt due to caseload change. I asked her, and she had from my understanding, another officer who had was with her maybe the first day, I'm not sure who she was training, why another officer couldn't step forth and again try to make contact with us. And she says that that's just not how it works because it's her case, is my understanding, that she needed to respond to it. With that being said, she admitted, but did not put in the report, that even though she says she did not make attempts to make contact with on the days that she was on shift, that she did drive by our residence several times during those 3 days and admitted to us that she had never seen a dog out front. So to me, she also perhaps is a little speculative of the events as well. I understand there's a question of, excuse me, let me gather my thought and grab a drink here. The question of a leash that was found secured to our front porch that was laying over the public sidewalk. I also just want to point out, in the event of this accused situation, that there have been no witnesses that have come forth. So, and I have talked to several of my neighbors, and a few of them, including the sheriff's father, said he didn't even realize we had a large dog. But I'm not denying the fact that there was a leash on the thing, but like I said, once again, I've got to do my best to protect someone who is the member of our family, by bringing forth things that I think need to be considered further. Once, like I said, Officer Minahan said she's never seen a large dog out front. The fact is that we do have 2 dogs, and that the one, so there's no proof guaranteed which dog has used that leash. Although I will state, we have a large kennel on the backside of our property that is used for our large dog. During the course of this time, not one person has asked to visually see the dog, either in person or in picture. So we're going off claims of an individual, but I feel like there's been lack of proper, thorough investigation on the City of Anamosa Police Department side. Excuse me. I lost my train of thought. I apologize. And I've been reading, through the ordinances, and I will say, compared to my knowledge of what ordinances were years ago, I am kind of saddened to see the ordinances that have come across, because as I am reading this and going through it, this really feels like there is something against dogs and dog owners. It doesn't explain things. In your section 5501, you listed as aggressive dog means a dog that has 2 verified incidents of unprovoked chasing, snapping, or barking. I'm sorry, dogs bark. Many dogs are bred to overlook their homes, naturally, instinctively. So that's in a dog's nature. I think that puts every dog on the table to be condemned. And I think that's unfair for my loved ones and anybody else's loved fur babies. So yes, I think that's the main points that I wanted to bring up at this time. Oh, one more thing. The initial contact with my husband that was made on, I think the 23rd, yes, 23rd, caused a lot of emotional upset for my husband as well. Here, he was given this big shock, and he wasn't even giving the due justice to be able to finish asking questions and seek warranted information about what may or may not happen with his dog and in the time frame, because she had to leave. So the 10-day span and the fact that once contact was made could not be fully achieved. So to me, this is not a high priority event. This is a low priority event, even though according to your guys' definition, my dog should be seen as a public nuisance and a safety problem to our citizens. But yet, once again, 10, almost 11 days went by without full information being able to be received. And I also think that, sorry, one more thing. I'm sorry, I promise. And also the fact that incorrect reporting and documentation dates on the report was done. Some of the dates are indicated for July 22nd, 2021. Thank you again, council.
Thank you, Alicia. Patrick, on behalf of the, you sure can. Alicia, so we have Patrick O'Connell present. Who is the city's
Mr. Mayor, you may want to borrow someone's microphone.
Got the other one.
So Lisa, what I was stating is we have Patrick O'Connell, the city attorney, present.
Alicia, can you tell me if you received the letter dated June 23rd, 2021 regarding the incident from the police department?
Patrick, while she unmutes, you actually want to hold the microphone just a little bit further away.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes.
It's sensitive. I like it.
Just to make sure I heard you correct, you were asking me if I received the notification dated for June 23rd, 2021. Is that correct, sir?
Correct.
Yes, I did. Yes, we did.
And that's how you knew to request a hearing. Is that correct?
Yes, Officer Minahan advised us to call the city hall the next day. My husband attempted to initially make contact, but was having difficulty doing so. So I ended up sending an email. But yes, Officer Minahan advised us this could be a step in our right.
So you requested a hearing before the council. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So you knew you had the right to a hearing. Is that right?
Per Officer Minahan, yes.
Is there a public sidewalk in front of 301 South Ford Street where you live?
Yes, sir, there is.
You mentioned that the chain reaches all the way to the sidewalk. Is that right?
Yes, it had at that time negligently due to my children playing with their other dog. I'm not denying that fact.
Did you see that there were photographs attached to the report that show bite marks on the gentleman's arm?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you provide a vaccination record for rabies concerning Daisy?
Yes, we did. They were sent to Officer Minahan via her email as requested by her the morning of June 24th.
So you knew that Daisy was the subject of the investigation and not your other dog?
Yes, for the simple fact that our other dog is an 8-week-old puppy. And Daisy is a full-grown dog.
So you're certain that the puppy didn't come out and bite this gentleman, is that right?
Correct.
Do you agree that the photographs show marks on the gentleman's arm?
I agree that they show some kinds of marks. Can I definitively say what those marks are? No, I don't, because of the poor quality. And I questioned Officer Minahan about the poor quality of the photos.
Do you have any information tending to suggest that Mr. Sams provoked your animal? In other
What's
words,
that?
onto the property and tried to provoke the dog?
No, I do not. I don't know. I do not know Mr. Sams, and I've got nothing against the young gentleman.
You've seen the photographs of the puncture wounds, is that right?
I've seen the photos that were provided to me of a gentleman's arms with some sort of, as far as I'm concerned, unidentifiable marks.
Would it be fair to say that Daisy did in fact come out to the sidewalk and bite Mr. Sams?
No, it would not be fair to say that because there was no witness of that, and our dog is not left untended outside at any time. She doesn't like to be outside by herself.
You're aware of the fact that the ordinance does not necessarily require a puncture of the skin, that a bite alone would be sufficient, right?
Yes, I've read that ordinance several times, yes.
It says as long as the dog seizes its victim with its teeth, it shall be considered to have bitten its victim. Have you seen that portion of the ordinance?
Yes, sir.
And since your puppy didn't obviously do this, do you think probably it was Daisy that seized the arm of this gentleman and caused those bite marks?
I cannot for sure say that, sir, because I was not witnessed by my family, and it was not witnessed by any of our neighbors to our knowledge.
Do you keep the dog at 301 South Ford Street?
Yes, this is her residence.
Did you admit to the officer that the dog likely did bite Mr. Sams?
No, I did not.
It appears your husband admitted to the officers that you were in fact back home during the time that the bite occurred. You aware of that?
Yes, because we were home. My husband thought it was the weekend before. That was the questioning weekend when we had been out of town.
I don't have any other questions, Your Honor. Thank you. Thanks. It's back to you for now. Anyway. Does the
council have questions for Ms. Pearson? If none, I would ask the council for a decision on the appeal of the vicious dog removal order. Well, I thought you just did. I'm sorry. Okay. Please.
First, at this time, I would offer to have installed documents in the council package for the board's consideration.
Could you guys repeat what Patrick said? Or whoever-
Patrick just stated that for the council to refer to the material in the packet as the evidence related to this incident.
For the record, that would include the letter of June 23rd, 2021 to Ryan Ray Peterson from the PD. It would include copies of the applicable ordinance, as well as the amendments to the ordinance. It would include the police report regarding the incident, as well as the narrative that was provided with that. I offer that at this time. Roll call on that.
It's a roll call that they have visibility to the evidence.
Correct.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Capron, Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
All council members have acknowledged and affirmed that they have received and have visibility to the evidence that is in their packet as submitted.
Are we going to hear from Mr. Chase? Mr. Sam, sorry.
Alicia, the question is if the individual that was attacked or bitten, if we were going to hear from that individual. Rebecca, unless he's on Zoom, I do not see him present in the council chambers.
As far as I can tell, he's not here. There are two that I don't know who they might be, but they haven't raised their hand, so.
Mr. Sams, if you are present virtually, would you please get Rebecca's attention to speak to the council? It appears that he's not present. We have Chief Boyd, if you'd like to speak.
We'll call Chief Hoyt at this time. Chief, did your department cause to be sent a notice dated June 23rd, 2021 concerning the fighting incident?
We did.
Have you reviewed that document?
Yes, I have.
Have you examined the evidence that was supporting that document?
The evidence, yes, by the pictures that were sent.
Chief, could you repeat that into the microphone that Patrick has?
The evidence consisting of the report and the photographs that were sent by the officer, that is affirmative, I have.
Have you seen the color versions of those photographs, Chief?
Yes, I have.
What did you conclude from reviewing the color photographs?
They do appear to be puncture wounds or teeth marks within the skin on the arm of the individual.
Does the report reflect the identity of the animal that attacked Mr. Sams?
other than in writing from a statement from the victim. The dog was identified to the officer by the victim and then subsequently agreed upon by the owners of the animal by description, not by visual observation.
Did the owners admit to the department officer that it was the larger of the two animals and not the puppy?
I can't answer if they answered whether it was the larger of the two, but they did say that it was the brown or Rottweiler mix.
Not the puppy, and no puppy was mentioned.
That's correct.
Is there a public sidewalk in front of 301 South Ford Street?
Yes.
Was there a chicken found that reached all the way to the sidewalk?
Yes.
Does that, is there a problem with that under the ordinance?
Yes, it's not allowed to cross over the sidewalk.
55.11 of the code requires that any tethered animal cannot reach a public sidewalk. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What's the reason for that?
In case of a potentially vicious or aggressive animal, to keep it or prevent it from reaching the pedestrians that could walk by on a public sidewalk.
Did Mr. Sims make an official report to the department concerning the fact he'd been bitten?
Yes, he did.
Was Mr. Sims cooperative?
Yes, he was.
Did you note anything in the reports that led you to believe his testimony was unreliable?
Nothing was noted.
Are witnesses required by law to make truthful statements to police officers?
Yes.
Is the City of Anamosa Police Department letter dated June 23rd, 2021, a record which is normally kept in the business of the police department in these matters?
Yes, it is.
That's all the questions I have at this time, Mayor.
Alicia, do you have questions for Chief Hoyt?
Okay, sorry, I thought I was still muted. I guess I would like just a further better understanding, expandment of my knowledge as to why such situations like this cannot be handled by other officers within the force to attend to in the event of the absence due to time off, whatever, of the initial responding officer, or due to extensive, as she put it, caseload issues.
So to answer your question, as you've already pointed out, the officer did attempt to make contact by both stopping at your residence and attempted to make a phone call. And that phone call went straight to voice message. The voice message, which was not checked. At what point in time, the officer did have days off. And I think, again, you alluded to the fact that this wasn't necessarily a pressing issue. So the officer would have considered the fact that they could have returned after their days off and continued with the case. The other officer also that you mentioned was the training officer on duty with that officer. So they would have been involved in that as well. And that's the reason for the delay. And I guess it's the 10 days that you would have had to, or the 7 days that you would have had to get the dog out of the residence. This wasn't the intent of the case, but I guess just so you're aware, it extended that time because of the delay. It wasn't, there was nothing on our part that was intended to harm you in the delay. It actually would have been in your favor.
Officer Hoyt, yes, I do see how much that did play in our favor. But I guess I gotta kind of come back to the fact that, does this routinely happen? In situations like this, where there are claims of possible potential public safety. Um, you know, could other potential public safety incidents have occurred because of this lack of, as far as I'm concerned, immediate response? That's why I question the priority of this, and that's why I am here for this reconsideration, as I said, on the behalf of our family. I love this community. I've been here my entire life, but I question the thought patterns that occur sometimes and how things come about in ordinances and stuff like that. But I've got to do everything to try to plead for our family. So
I'm not sure if there was a question in
no,
there.
I'm sorry.
I guess I understand that. And again, as you pointed out, Officer Minahan was very understandable of that. These are not ordinances that we enjoy enforcing. I think most of us do have pets and we understand how they can be a part of the family. But certainly there are downsides to an aggressive or vicious animal, and we can't ignore those either.
Yes, sir. I don't have any more questions at this time for Officer Hoyt. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Chief Hoyt, just to stay consistent with witnesses, do you swear or affirm the evidence that you gave was the truth?
I do.
We don't have any other evidence at this time, Your Honor, but I assume that the owner would like a closing statement briefly, and so would I.
Alicia, would you please give any closing statements that you have?
No matter the outcome of this, I would like for there to be further consideration in whatever governmental council, political way, because I'm not political at all, way, about the timeline of events. And is this satisfactory? Is this justifiable? Is this how we want to resume ensuring our public safety with large time gaps with incidents like this?
Is that your final statement, Alicia?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you for your final statement. Patrick O'Connell.
So what we have before us is a situation where the police department submitted to you a report, which I asked the chief about. He said it's ordinarily kept in the course of business. There was no testimony that really contradicted it. There was a statement made that there was a puppy, and it doesn't seem likely that the puppy was able to perpetrate this. The described animal was a brown American bulldog mix, American bulldog Rottweiler mix. The shot record that was provided was for that animal. It was for the animal named Daisy. The council has before it a difficult question here, but it's not as difficult as it may initially seem. The ordinance is pretty simple, and the reason for the ordinance being written the way it is because this was an adult walking down the sidewalk, and what happened here was a bite mark, arguably a puncture wound, according to the chief. It looked like a puncture wound in the photographs, to an adult full-size male. Had this been a 4-year-old, this situation would have been radically different. I think we all know that. What we have here is an ordinance designed to prevent that exact scenario from occurring. The animal was chained on a porch with a chain that reached all the way to the public sidewalk. There's no evidence that this gentleman provoked the dog in any way. So, as tempting as it may be to look at the ordinance as unduly harsh toward a family member, the ordinance could be harsher. Many cities have euthanizing requirements. We're not requiring the dog be euthanized. We're simply requiring that it be removed from the city limits. What we're tasked with here is enforcing the city code as it's written. And what the city code says in plain language is that if the animal is declared vicious, and the vicious definition is pretty clear in the code, what it says is the definition of a vicious dog is that which has bitten or attacked a human being without cause or justification. That's what happened here. No question about that. Our code then at 55.17 states it is unlawful for any person to keep a vicious dog within the city. So that tied the hands of the PD at that point. You can't keep the animal in the city once this has happened. All right. Additionally, there's a tethering requirement which exacerbated the fact pattern here. No person shall tie or fasten an animal in any way that permits the animals to pass onto, over, or across a public sidewalk. That's 5511 of our code. So we provided notice to the owners in order to give them an opportunity to come into the hearing and give reasons why we should not enforce the code. It is up to the council at this point. I leave it in your good judgment to decide what to do about it. The unfortunate truth is if we don't enforce our code, we're going to have additional problems. And the code as written requires removal of the animal from the city limits. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. At this time, the council will deliberate and discuss what has been presented before us.
Well, the chief seen a color picture, which would be better than this one we got, and said it sure seemed to be a puncture wound. And I like dogs and stuff too. I'm not against them. But the way our ordinance is written, as the city attorney stated, that's what the ordinance is for, to protect citizens walking on the sidewalk. I understand having pets that you love. I'm sure this is a very good family pet, and I very much understand having to do something like this. It's just a tough decision to make.
It boils down to, did the dog bite or did the dog not bite? And the evidence states that the dog bit. I wish the person who got bit would have been here.
Me too.
That bothers me quite a bit. But I have 100% total faith in our police department. And I cannot believe for a moment that they would skew the information in any way. And if they believe that this actually happened and they believe the person that said it, it puts quite a bit of weight on it also.
Well, I agree with everything that's been said, and just to take it a step further, it sounds like the description from the person who was bit matches the dog. So there's no discrepancy in that portion of it of, is it or isn't it? The description is there. So unfortunately, it's just one of those things that we've got ordinances. They're I think, pretty good ordinances. And they're just things that we have to follow.
Any other council discussion? And hearing none, the discussion has come to an end. At this time, I would entertain a motion on this matter.
I'll second.
That was Galen, correct?
Correct.
Could you repeat the motion into a microphone? Sorry.
Yes, I will. We have a motion by Galen, second by Rich. My understanding that approve the actions that have been taken and that the dog shall be removed as ordered. Galen, is that a summary of your motion? Rich, is that how you heard it?
That's how I took his interpretation of his motion to uphold the ordinance.
Council, you need to discuss the motion. Hearing none at this time, I ask Beth to conduct a roll vote on the motion that has been made.
Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Capron. Crump,
Yes.
The motion has been carries unanimous. Ms. Pearson, council has made a decision that the dog will need to be removed from the city limits. It was not I can tell you, it was not an easy decision by this council. Sitting here, I can see with their faces, that is something that they did not take lightly. Although they have decided to uphold the ordinance, as well as, in a sense, the verdict that has been rendered. Eight point two. I guess, Patrick, at this time, I can proceed to the next agenda item on the. Hearing is closed. Very well, thank you. 8.2, presentation of information on possible library levy question on next city election ballot. Pam Benson, Kay Smith, representing.
Do you want me to stand up there or can I sit here?
You can sit there.
Oh, thank you. I'll talk loud. And I will tell you that Pam provided me with the information, and I'll try my very best to follow the information and not talk about things like my grandson being so frustrated in his work because his people can't read. So the library board of trustees is planning to add a 27-cent levy to the next general election ballot. The levy money will be used for programming, personnel, building upkeep. This is a geothermal building that has 12 geothermal units, each of which costs $15,000. And the task has been begun to replace one each year. And technology, so that we can be computer literate and keep up with today's society and technology. The levy will last an indeterminate amount of time. There isn't an end date. Now, Pam's question is, with the internet, Google, et cetera, why do we need the library? Well, if you drive around town at night, you see cars parked out here in the library using the internet because they don't have it at home. Then if everybody is like me, and you have a computer issue or a phone issue, you come down and ask them for help because your grandkids live far away and they're the only ones that know. I have been here lots and lots of evenings tutoring students using the rooms that they have that are available. And not only that, there are a lot of programs that are available for the little kids and the middle-sized kids and the adults. It's a good place. If you come here after school, you'll find lots of students coming from the high school, the middle school here to work on their homework, do computer activities, visit quietly with friends, and just hang out because it's a safe place for them. And there are lots of things that the library offers, like ebooks, audiobooks, research databases. You know, you can come down here and find out your family history so that when you go to the cemetery, you don't end up covered with ticks. That's another story I can talk about, but I won't. The last time, the library has never asked for a levy. There are many libraries in the state that do have levies that help support them, but Anamosa has never asked. And you know, we moved from the old library to here, and you can tell the difference in the size and the facilities here. The cost has been quite high. The library wants to work really, really hard to keep up with the demands of the patrons. You know, right away when the schools went online, Rebecca found the Brain Freeze, which is a homework help for kids that they can use on the computer. And if you haven't been helping your kid with math for a while, then you would know how important it is to have that technology available.
I told myself I wouldn't interrupt, but it's a brain fuse, not brain freeze.
What did I say?
Brain freeze.
Oh, well, I wrote it down, brain freeze. I won't talk about my hand. Never mind. Thank you, Rebecca. There's just lots of things that the library provides for us. And just like at my house, sometimes I need to have the roof replaced and sometimes I need to have the plumber come. And so there are a lot of expenses within a building of this size. Plus, we have a wonderful, wonderful staff and we want to keep it that way. I think that the library is a source that attracts people to the community and represents our community well within the state. They offer bridges, which are ebooks and audiobooks that are free to download. They have Hoopla, which is media that has movies and music, etc. And the homework assistance, programs for everybody. They have quizzes and they have little kid things. I think their little kids are playing bingo now. They have lots of programs. There's Ancestry. There's the Anamosa School Yearbook. So if y'all graduated from here, you can look up and see what you looked like then. There are newspapers and magazines and meeting rooms and study rooms. They make copies. They can do a fax. They can do lamination. They can do scans. They can proctor an exam if you're trying to get another degree. And it's just a fun place to come and learn so that you can be a contributing member of your world and your society. I quit. Well, unless you want me to go on. Anything you want to add, Rebecca?
You did great, Kate.
Any questions? Okay, that was a very fine presentation, Kay. Thank
Oh,
you
thank
for
you.
that. As I read this item, there's no action at this time. It was just information.
Just information that the board and people that they ask will be coming around to get the petition signed to have it be placed on the ballot in November.
And
Just
this is-
information so that you know.
Your presentation was supported not only by the board, but by friends of the library as well?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Beth, at this time, the 27 cents, what dollar figure does that amount to in a year's time for the city, roughly?
A couple of library books for your table, a couple of books from the bookstore.
And as far as dollar amount for that brings to the library for the whole city, you know, if you take that 27 cents, what's that bringing to the library additionally?
Are you talking about the total
The
overall
If it
amount?
would
What
be passed.
what new money does this bring to the library out of the
Oh.
27 cents?
So, I don't know if we figured that up. the
I
other
don't
day.
think we did.
It was figured a few years ago, but I don't remember what that was, and it's probably changed.
Thank you.
It's on taxable valuation, so.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I'm a numbers guy.
Well,
Comes
if one
natural for you.
geothermal furnace or heating system costs 15,000, we might be able to get one a year.
I would say that Beth could probably provide a more up-to-date number, but the State Library of Iowa calculates what that would be for every city that has a library, and publishes that on their website every year. So it's out there, if you guys can't calculate that out tonight.
Well,
Yeah, I
if-
know
if
what
you
our
maybe
total
wanna-
valuation is, but
If you want to just calculate and email us or something.
Yeah.
I can.
If you
Yeah.
calculate both what new money at this time would bring to the library and as also like per 100,000 average assessed value, or just out of curiosity, what that would be.
All right. Anything else?
I will say that, Jeff, there will be informational things going, and I'm sure that will be covered as it progresses down closer to election
Okay.
or time, but there's only so much information available right now that I was given anyway.
8.3, resolution setting salaries for fiscal year 2021, 2022 for appointed officers, employees of the city of Anamosa.
I gave you some options there. I gave you four different resolutions.
And when you and I talked, I believe you said that the budget covers every,
Every one
Option.
of them.
Correct.
so we've budgeted for, if we wanted to go to the 3%, it's already budgeted.
Correct. It would have been in the budget numbers usually.
And a year ago, we did a 2% increase,
Correct.
which I think we had talked about a 2.5 to 3 a year ago, and we ended up with a 2.
Two. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know, and I know that I talked to Beth earlier about this a little bit, that a lot of cities are doing 3% this year. And I guess from my perspective, I would make the motion to do a 3% just to kind of catch everybody up and do that at this point in time.
Second,
I don't, as far as like social security, like the federal cost of living increase, is that what you're talking about?
that's about 1.6, I believe.
Yeah, it was about that last year too. This year.
Just watching what the economy's been doing lately, if it continues at the rate it's going, it's going to be much higher by the end of the year.
Right.
So I agree. I think we should go with the 3%.
So the options in your packet that we presented were 1%, 2%, 2.5%, and 3%.
Correct.
Didn't you motion 3%?
We
Didn't
made-
I
yeah.
second it?
Rich made the motion for
Yep.
3%.
And you
Mhm.
And I
seconded it.
seconded.
Uh,
And I.
Is there any individuals in chambers that would care to make a statement or address the council regarding the motion?
oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Could Linda have a microphone?
I think you all know I'm Linda Iben. I've been here for 7.5 years as a utility billing clerk. I'm making only $17.42 per hour, which I feel is too low. I am here on time every day. Never take a sick day. I never take a full week of vacation because it gets me too far behind because there's so much to do. And it's a stressful job. It's very fast paced. And God knows everybody hates the utility billing clerk, so I get to hear from them all the time. I feel that I get my work done in a timely manner. And I just would like to point out that nobody has stayed in this position for more than 6 to 8 months. So I feel that I've given my time and I've respected everyone. I feel I can make more money somewhere else, but I enjoy the people I work with, which makes a big difference. And I'd just like to point out the new city clerk assistant, which I stress is an assistant, not a city clerk, will be making $19 to $20 per hour to start. And the current deputy city clerk started off working the same per hour as when the deputy city clerk left, which I don't think was fair. Let's see.
Did you say 17? In here, it looks, it's 14 something. Is that a typo in here?
No, it's
1442. And then I guess I didn't understand, I appreciated the raise when we lost the city clerk. And we were helping Beth out. I appreciate that. But when she was moved up to administrator, it was taken away from us, but we still had to continue to help out, which I don't mind because Beth is wonderful and I love to help her as much as I can. I didn't understand that, but I didn't say anything about it. I would appreciate it if you would consider a raise of $1.50 more per hour, because I have been here quite a while and I'm the lowest paid of the water, streets, and sewer department. And I feel that I put my all into my job, and I just wish that I feel I'm entitled to this raise. And I've always been dedicated, and I would appreciate your consideration for it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Linda. Is there any questions, any comments for Linda?
Going kind of along with this, I guess, and looking at this, this is not, I guess, maybe the conversation of what percentage of raise we're talking about, but in just glancing, that stood out, but hers did stand out. And also the library and the Parks and Rec department, if you look at the Parks and Rec department and library department heads, every one of the full-time public works departments, police department, whether it's just full-time employees or department heads, even though just the regular full-time employees are making more than what those two department heads are making. And, the other departments are 9 to 5, no supervisory experience. I know, as far as we're talking department heads, Parks and Rec and library put in a lot of hours. I mean, Rebecca's here, all the time here doing these meetings and stuff. I just feel like there's more responsibility with them than even just a full-time labor within, for example, any of the public works departments. And that's just my thoughts on that. And we can be new guy on any of those departments and be making what two other department heads are making. We're either paying too much in one area or not enough in another.
Any other comments, questions? We have a motion on the floor by Rich, second by Kay, to proceed with a 3% across the board increase for all employees. If there's no other discussion or considerations.
Can specific areas be specified on this, or are we just doing what's presented here with the different percentages?
No, you can do what you want. You just would have to amend your motion.
Well, either that or else we go ahead and vote on the 3%. And if you don't like it, you vote it down, and then we come back with
True.
another motion. I just want to touch on Linda's request. I'm not sure exactly what all her duties entail and so forth, and that may be, in my mind, maybe we look at that as a separate item at a later date. So we can at least get this done, and then maybe we can take a look, if that's what needs to be done, at her request later on. That's just my thought on Linda. I mean, I appreciate you coming and asking, and I'm not sure I want to tackle it tonight, but maybe.
I'll leave you to it.
All right.
This is my ball game for my babies.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you for consideration.
But at this point in time, this is my motion, and we've got a second.
So, vote in favor or oppose? Beth, would you conduct a roll vote?
Capron,
Yeah.
Stout,
Yes, but with have it subject to having some of these other ones we talked about future discussion. But based on the percentages, yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Motion to give a 3% raise to all employees carried unanimously.
Somehow don't think that includes us.
Yeah.
8.4, review and approval of a street closure request for Tucker's Tavern on July 29th, 2021 for Ragbri event.
Jeremiah, do you have anything that you would like to say about that? As far as the traffic closures, or how it would impact security, or how it would impact safety?
Give it away.
I don't have anything specific to say, nothing major. We've been attending several public safety meetings to kind of discuss any of the public safety aspects of things. 15 to 20,000 people are going to be here either way. So we are trying to stay on top of that the best we can. It'll be a fairly simple closure, much like Pumpkin Fest, as far as roads being closed. It should be pretty straightforward and simple. I think the biggest thing we've recommended is make sure that the public is very aware of how congested it's going to be and be prepared.
So will this little side street closure impact you in any way?
For Ragbri or in general?
No, just for Ragbri for this night, because this is off of Main Street. So is it going to impact anything that you can foresee?
It shouldn't, no.
Okay.
We're under the impression that bikes are going to be everywhere. So we know that, there will be things that we're not anticipating, but as far as the plan goes, we don't have any reason to believe that that's going to be a problem.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Chief. Motion by Kay, second by Alan to approve the request. Any other discussion, council? Public comment? Anyone virtually? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried unanimously. 8.5, review and approval of extended service area request for Tucker's Tavern on July 29th, 2021 for Ragbri event.
So at this point, any establishment that doesn't normally have outside service would be fair game for request.
So the Ragbri committee did give approval for her request to come to council, because in the ordinance we passed, it did state that no other outdoor service areas would be allowed to be added after the Ragbri announcement in January. So I did call and ask if they were aware of the request, and they were, so.
So this is kind of an exception to the ordinance that we passed for Ragbri.
Correct. It
Okay.
gave the committee the oversight to, they could have just, they could have said no.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Jeff.
Other way around.
Motion by Jeff, second by Rich.
There you go.
Thank you. To approve the request. Any further council discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimous. 8.6, review and approval of a street closure request for the Rotary fireworks on July 3rd, 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
This time, motion by Rich, second by Jeff. Any further discussion?
I would like to extend that to not just say on July 3rd, but also state the rain date of July 4th.
Jeff, do you agree with that?
Yep.
So we have a motion by Rich, second by Jeff to approve the request by the Rotary of street closure for the fireworks on July 3rd with rain date being July 4th. Any other council discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimous. 8.7, resolution setting date for public hearing on designation of expanded Anamosa corridor urban renewal area on urban renewal plan amendment.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by John. Council discussion?
On July 28th,
July 26th
oh, 26th.
at 6 o'clock.
Beth, anything on that, Beth?
Nope, this is where we're gonna remove and add the urban renewal area for by design. So there'll be a few of these things going through here until we get to the development agreement.
Public comment? So we have a motion by Rich, second by John to set the public hearing for July 26th. Beth, would you conduct a roll vote?
Smith,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. 8.8, resolution deleting property from the Northeast Industrial Urban Renewal Area.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Kay. Any further discussion? Do you have anything to add, Beth?
Nope, just part of that same, right now that property's in the Northeast Industrial Urban Renewal Area, and we're going to be putting it back in the corridor area.
Any comment from the public? Beth, would you conduct the roll vote?
Lockhart,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yeah.
Smith,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Motion carried unanimous. 8.9, first reading of an ordinance deleting property from the tax increment finance district for the Northeast Industrial Urban Renewal Area of the city of Anamosa, Iowa, pursuant to section 403.19 of the Code of Iowa.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. Further council discussion? Any public comment? Beth?
Smith,
Yes.
Capron,
Yeah.
Crump,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Motion carried unanimous. Item 1, possible motion to waive statutory rule for second reading of ordinance.
Move to waive second reading.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Alan to waive the second reading. Any other discussion from council? Any public comment? Does this have to be in a roll vote as well? Beth, please.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Lockhart,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Capron,
Yeah.
Motion to waive second reading carried unanimous. Item 2, possible motion to give final consideration and adoption of ordinance.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. Any further council discussion? Any public comment? Beth?
Capron,
Yeah.
Stout,
Yes.
Zumba,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Motion to approve carried unanimously. 8.10, review and approval of the following cigarette permit renewals. Giggle Juice Liquor Station LLC, Tapkins Convenience, Fairway Stores, Inc., number 166, Walmart Store, number 646, Casey's Store, number 2908, Casey's Store, number 2690, Dollar General Store, number 3685.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by John to approve listing. Any discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor of the motion signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried unanimously. 8.11, review and approval liquor license renewal for Casey's Store, number 2908.
Move to approve.
I have Jeff on the motion, Rich on the second. Any other discussion? Any comment? All those in favor of the motion signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion to approve carried unanimous. 8.12, review and approval of current bills.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Alan, second by Rich to approve bills as submitted. Any discussion?
What's a generator PM?
It's maintenance.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any other items to discuss? All those in favor of approving the bills signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion to approve carried unanimous. 9.0, City Administrators Report.
So we've gotten some applications for the housing rehab program.
Good.
Not as many as we need yet, but we're staying optimistic. So far, so good. We also have received a TEAP traffic study from the DOT. So the DOT and HR Green will do a traffic study on the 5-way intersection to come up with a better solution, hopefully. I think it's been studied before, but we'll see what happens this time.
Roundabout would be nice there.
Yeah, it could happen. Other than that, we're having a few bumps with the accounting software, but we're getting there. And I'm ready for June to be over so I can close the year out.
How many applications on that ECOG residential application are needed and what's the deadline?
We need 6 and just the deadline's when we get 6.
Okay, that's all it takes is once basically the first 6 get it?
Yep.
How many do we have?
I think we have 3.
Really?
Well,
Yep.
Well,
So I mean, we're getting there. It's
well,
just-
and it's only been 2 weeks.
exactly.
So by the time you got it out and got people aware of it, I think 3's pretty good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and I know I've heard a few more people have been working on getting the application done, so
Good.
hopefully.
just encourage others to take advantage of this.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there any other questions or comments for Beth?
Have we had anybody apply for wastewater?
We've only had one application so far. It doesn't close until July 6th, so we have a little bit of time left, yeah.
Beth, thanks for that report. 10.0, Mayor and Council reports. 10.1, Mayor's report. None at this time. 10.2, Council reports.
Library board met and I pretty much said what we did.
Parks and Rec hasn't met since, but I hear as of real recently, the water slide is up and running.
It was today. The kids were lined up on every step.
It's great.
Eleven point zero, public comment for items not on the agenda. We'll start with those in chambers. Appears to be none. Rebecca, is there anyone virtually that would like to speak to the council?
I don't see anybody, but in the next couple of seconds, if you wanted to send me a chat. I'm not seeing anything, so I'll say no.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by John. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion to adjourn carried unanimous.